Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, your home for NFL talk here on YouTube. My name is Mike. Guys, I'm coming at you here with another NFL free agency rumor and analysis video. A lot of big names, making some news today on the free agency front. And let's start first with Eugene Monroe. Eugene Monroe is the prized left tackle in this year's free agency class. Monroe's in the prime of his career, 27 years old, spent the bulk of his career so far with the Jaguars, was traded last year. The Ravens traded 2 picks to the Jaguars for Monroe mid-season. And the thinking is the Ravens are going to do what they need to do to get a deal done with him. He'll probably get a deal in excess or at least at $10 million per year. But Monroe came out today and said he's not going to give the Ravens, any kind of discount. And who's to blame him? I mean, when this stuff makes news, I understand because he's the best left tackle in free agency. It's going to make news, but why should he give the Ravens any kind of break? With the way the rookie salary cap is structured now, these guys have probably one big contract, if they're lucky, to cash in. And this is Eugene Monroe's prime time to do that. So all the power to him to get his money now. I think he has a little bit of leverage on the Ravens because they did trade for him. And I don't think they're going to want to have traded those picks away, a 4th and a 5th round pick, just to let him walk out the door. So look for this deal to get done prior to free agency with Monroe and the Ravens. Going from, the prize offensive lineman in this class to, in many eyes, the best receiver in this class, and that's Eric Decker. Obviously prolific with the Broncos the last 2 seasons with Peyton Manning at quarterback. I personally view Decker as a number 2 receiver at the top level of number 2 receivers in the NFL. And I've said that multiple times on here throughout the offseason. But the fact of the matter is, with the numbers he's put up, there's a lot of teams that are very, very abreast of wide receivers in the NFL. And he could very well command an $8-9 million a year payday somewhere with the Broncos. I don't think the Broncos are going to go there. But Decker comes out today and says he's got to think of his family first as far as where he'll go play, insinuating that maybe he'll take the money. But then in the next breath says that winning and being happy when he goes to work is important to him. Well, if it was, okay, and if it is, he'll take $6-7 million a year from the Broncos on a long-term deal to stay in a winning situation. I mean, I know Decker's trying to say all the right things and please everyone, and I give him credit for that. But look, this is a guy who most likely is going to take the most money wherever it's offered. And if someone comes in and blows him away, okay, with an $8-9 million a year offer, he'd be a fool not to take it. And again, we'll see how important winning and being happy is to him when he has the dollars, right in his face. And some young quarterbacks made some news today as well. Neither are free agents, but I just wanted to touch on the situations regarding Jake Locker and Sam Bradford. While they're not free agents yet, these are 2 guys that I think it's really make or break seasons for both these guys this year. Now, I'll take Jake Locker first. Jake Locker is a guy who showed a lot of promise to me early last season before he hurt his hip. And I'm anxious to see how he develops under Ken Whisenhunt. Under Ken Whisenhunt, we saw, obviously, Ben Roethlisberger develop under him. We saw the reemergence of Kurt Warner. We saw Phillip Rivers have his highest completion percentage in his career last year. So let's see if Whisenhunt can make something work with Locker. If he goes through this year and doesn't feel like Locker's his guy, look for Jake Locker to be released next offseason, because Whisenhunt's going to have to stay there as the head coach and as a guy who certainly knows the quarterback position. Going from Jake Locker to Sam Bradford, another young quarterback that I don't really get quite why the Rams are so beholden to Sam Bradford. Jeff Fisher is not the coach, okay, that drafted Sam Bradford. They no longer owe Sam Bradford any guaranteed money, but he is on the books for $17 million this year. You're paying a guy who is at best an average quarterback what the top 5 or 10 quarterbacks in the league get paid at $17 million when you don't really have to. So it's a little confusing situation for me. Now, granted, all right, while Locker has Whisenhunt, a guy who's proven to develop quarterbacks, Bradford's never really had, an offensive guru to work with. I don't consider Scott Linehan, a life-changing coordinator. Brian Schottenheimer certainly leaves a lot to be desired. And Jeff Fisher's a defensive guy. So maybe from that standpoint, they're hoping Bradford can stay healthy and develop with they spent a lot of picks in the last 3 or 4 years in early rounds on wide receivers. Maybe they're hoping everything, and they spent a lot of money on Jared Cook last year at tight end. Maybe they're hoping everything comes together this year for Bradford, but this will be the second time in the last 3 years the Rams have had the number 2 pick overall and have stuck with Bradford and not gone for a quarterback. Time will tell if this will come back to haunt them, but, if it was me, I'd cut Bradford, save the $8 million on the salary cap, and take a chance with one of these young guys. I think at best Sam Bradford is an average quarterback in the NFL. All right, guys, from Sam Bradford and Jake Locker to a guy who, again, one of the top free agents in this year's class, and Jimmy Graham. And Jimmy Graham is likely, all right, to be franchised by the Saints if they can't get a deal done. Obviously, both sides want to get a deal done, but if they can't, let's face it, the Saints have an option to franchise Jimmy Graham. It's been well known here now that they're going to franchise him as a tight end at about $6.5 million. But also keep in mind, Graham has now pretty much made it known if they do slap that franchise tag on him, he's going to file a grievance and say that, look, I played a majority of my snaps at wide receiver last year. We'll see how that grievance goes. Remember, there's roughly a $4.5 million difference between the franchise number at tight end and at wide receiver. So if they franchise Jimmy Graham as a tight end, what does it hurt to file the grievance to see where it goes? It could be a landmark decision. It could really sway the future negotiations for a lot of these tight ends that are receiving first tight ends. One thing about Graham, though, yes, he is a dominant receiver, but it's sort of a tricky situation because he's always lined up against safeties and linebackers. Thus, I don't really think of him as a receiver. You don't really see corners man up on him on the outside, but I know it has to do with where you line up, okay, in relative to the line of scrimmage as far as what you're considered, a tight end or a wide receiver, not who covers you. But, I don't think of Jimmy Graham as a receiver. I don't think any of us do. But, hey, I think it's worth it. If he does win his grievance, that's $4.5 million in the guy's pocket. So, again, can't blame him in that respect. Guys, let me know what you think of some of these news items regarding some of the bigger name players here in free agency. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter as well. Guys, tonight I'm starting my top 50 free agents of 2014. A list, from 50 to 1. Just my opinion. I did the positional rankings, but I'm going to do a top 50 overall list. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to subscribe. It's completely free. Have a great night.